All right, Mr. Steve, go ahead and tell us what you're doing right now.
Yeah, so Nick taught me how to do this, but on these rudder hinge parts, what I'm doing is just taking the part. I hadn't drilled it before this, but taking the part and laying it down on the template that Nick made. And so if you lay it down on this template, and you can look straight down through the part and see that it's centered.
Yeah, you can see the line is going right through the center of that hinge pin barrel and then the spar barrel.
Yeah, little light on it there. Does that help?
There you go. Yeah.
And when you center the part up, it allows you to index these lines on the side that Nick showed me. So what you can do then is just make a tick mark where this exact center line is on the rudder hinge here with a pen, and then a tick mark on the other side with a pen in the same location.
Mm-hmm.
And then you take these parts and I use the channel aluminum here to line the part up and draw a straight line along the part that would be on the center line that I had marked there. And the same thing on the other side to line the part up with a center line that I marked. And then I simply centered the part with a ruler that Nick gave me because the hole is right in the middle of the part. Centered the hole up and then hole punched it to mark where the drill bit would be, and use the number 40 drill bit to hold it and center it and drill these holes like this in the part.
What you can see now too is, since you've done that, yeah, you can see that you've gone right through the center. It's perfectly square.
It looks pretty flat.
Now, for the record, if this was tilted, this way or this way, it's not that big of a deal. This is a bolted unit. It's got a 3/16 bolt that goes through there, and it's going to be covered in fabric. If it's a little cockeyed, that's fine. But if you take your time with this, the chance of that going cockeyed is really slim. At least to a point that it's unusable,
Okay, so it doesn't need to be perfect.
It doesn't
need
to be
get
perfect.
It as close to centered as you can.
Yeah. Now, some people might take this and set it up in a drill press with a clamp or some other way like that.
Okay.
But this, I like doing this because it's quiet, it's easy, it's honestly just as fast.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to do the setups
and
every
you can
time.
drill it by hand easily.
Yeah, so. And the problem with clamping this in a drill press is, you could still be off this way, even though you're controlling the whole distance. You're controlling the whole location this way, and along its length, you still got to worry about the twist.
Right.
And that's where the drill press gets a little more difficult. You can fixture it up, to make it so that this is shimmed.
Holding it in place.
Yeah, but by the time you do all that, why not just do it this way and be done with it?
Yeah, it's easy enough to get a square finish.
So, cool, thank you.
Calling these ribs.
Those are ribs, correct.
What am I calling this?
Leading edge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Vertical stab leading edge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So what we did is we have pinned and drilled our hinges to the spars, and of course we shimmed the hinge barrels off the table by the appropriate amount, which means a 1/16 inch shim under the spars and then a 3/16 inch shim underneath the hinge barrels. Yeah. So, but here's where things get critical. This point here and that point there attached to the horizontal stabilizer, and that has to be a fixed distance. And of course the bolt hole that attaches to the horizontal is right there, and then one right there on the gusset. But the problem is we can't just trust our drawing on the table to locate all this stuff. We have to verify it to make sure that our drawing's accurate to begin with. So what we did is we set this gusset here in place, a little bit of thunder there, and we made sure that these rivets are on center with the spar, these rivets are on center with the rib, and then we put a little Sharpie mark here through the bolt hole. Okay. So that's fine and dandy for that, but now we need to know that we're exactly 24 7/8 from this bolt hole that we have marked to this bolt hole, which we marked at 24 7/8. And usually I burn one, which means I actually mark it from the 1 to 25 7/8.
And 25 7/8 lines up
exactly
close with
exactly
this,
where
if
that
you look straight
was.
over at
Yeah.
25 and 78.
So now that we have our tick mark there, what we do, and it is normal for it to be that close to that edge. This is held on. The loads are taken through the gusset, not through the tube, so that is normal on this airplane. But what we want to do is look through that hole and find that little crosshair that we made,
Index mark.
the little index mark. There it is, and we can see that our rivet holes here line up with the rib and with the leading edge, so we know that that's perfect. So what we can do is come in and we'll gusset this first with Clecos. We'll drill it and Cleco it. We'll come over here, we'll drill this single hole through the tube alone, okay, without the gusset. And then we'll put the Cleco through there into the hole, and that will effectively locate this to the part. It has to go there. And by doing that, we know that we have exactly 24 7/8 of an inch.
Same spacing.
Exactly what we want according to the blueprints. So
And
these kinds of verifications are very important to do. You can ask Steve. We actually just pulled all the blocks off the table because we had a concern about how we laid this out.
Yeah.
And we remeasured, and everything actually is where it goes. We just had a concern. So,
we began doubting ourselves.
and that's
Yes.
fine. That's fine as long as it's not eating into our time in a way that the doubt is. How do I want to put this?
Justified.
Not justified. Yeah. So, double check things. It's not a problem to double check things.
Just one question here. This hole is very close to the end of this tube.
It is, and that's because the load is carried through the gusset,
Okay.
not through the tube itself.
So, okay.
Correct. And then this one here, this hinge, we're not actually going to touch this until the day comes that you mate this to your fuselage, because the other part of this is going to be on the fuselage welded, and you need to be able to set your height
To move the hinge into
to
place.
move the hinge into place. Yeah.
Okay.
And you can see that we have some old 3/16 bolts to pin the hinges together, or sorry, 3/8 bolts. And of course, when we're done, it's going to be a 1/4-inch bolt with the bronze bushing pressed into place
For a permanent hinge pin.
for a permanent hinge pin. So yeah, so what we'll do is we'll have Steve start drilling these, and we'll get these gussets in place.
Okay.
We went ahead and marked those 2 bolt hole locations that we were just talking about. Marked them and drilled them through the one side. But here's the thing. We're going to have to make sure that we're getting the same hole all the way through to the other side, right? We want to make sure that we can get a bolt through that. So what we're going to do, and there's 7 million better ways to be doing this, but because I like to drill holes by hand because I'm a knucklehead, I'm making sure that we're square here, and I'm just going to go for it. Okay.
Drill straight through and
Just drilled straight through, yeah. If you wanted to fixture this up, and keep in mind we're clamped to the table, so this can't move. But if you wanted to do this in a drill press or a mill, that would be a better way to do it.
that one's close.
And the reason I'm spinning the drill is just to make sure it's not getting hung up on anything inside. I want to make sure it feels right.
Okay.
And again, this is a number 40 bit, and we're going to be moving to 3/16. So we actually have quite a bit of wiggle room. So that hole is as square as it needs to be. And now we can go ahead and move forward with putting this leading edge back into place. And with this leading edge back in place, now we can actually go ahead and Cleco this gusset, like we discussed, to that hole, and then finish drilling the rivet holes. And same with this gusset here. So let's go ahead and do that.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna watch Captain Exciting drill some holes here. We've got this drill bit, this XS drill bit, put in that hole that we drilled, the second hole that we drilled. The reason we did that is because now we can watch this and see if things are starting to twist or move. All right, so let me get this out of here. That shouldn't be in there.
Shim?
The shim, yeah, it wasn't truly the appropriate shim. So now we can monitor this to make sure the tube's not rotating while Captain Exciting is drilling these these holes over here. You can see we've already done one, and of course this is where the bolt goes. Go ahead and let's do these two here. I do one at a time and then put a Cleco in.
Okay, just both end holes.
Yeah, one at a time.
I'll start with the one on the spar.
Yeah, that's fine. That drill bit's about shot, but we'll keep using it for now. Cleco that first before you do the next one.
Yep.
Cool. And now you could drill this tip one and put a Cleco in, and then because at that point everything is locked in, you could probably just drill the rest without Clecos.
Okay, and is the centering an issue there, or is that centered enough?
That's fine. That's
Okay.
perfect, yeah. And I'm watching this drill bit over here while he drills. You could look right down and see that it's still square to the table. Nothing's moved. So go ahead and Cleco that one, and then the rest you can just drill. He's never touched it. He didn't even know what a Cleco was until today.
I knew what they were, but I had never used them. Clearly. Now the yellow sleeve doesn't matter on this one.
No, that's really for finished fuselages that we're doing because we don't want to scratch up the aluminum.
Okay.
So the little boot keeps keeps the aluminum safe. But on this, because it's going under fabric, it's not a huge deal.
Okay.
So what we'll do is have you finish drilling that, and then we'll move to this side over here.